Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's briefing. I'm going to start by acknowledging that even though the public health orders requiring masks have expired, we're still wearing masks today inside the municipal building because the city policy is requiring masks for another several weeks while we transition back to opening up our in-person services and continuing to move out of the pandemic. So like many institutions in our city, we are still asking folks to mask in our buildings at this moment, and we expect there will be many other institutions and businesses that will continue to do that for as long as they need to. I also just want to remind everybody that masks are a great tool for our health. Certainly against COVID, but also against other airborne illnesses, colds and flus. I've heard that even people who have asthma can reduce their symptoms through wearing masks. So we're really encouraging everybody to wear a mask when you feel like it's appropriate for you, and encouraging everybody to not question other people's choices around masking, but rather to just understand that wearing masks is going to be part of our toolbox against all sorts of illness going forward, and we really need to respect that. So with that, we're going to have an update from Public Health, and I'd like to bring up Janelle Heinrich, our Director of Public Health, Madison Dane County.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everyone. This week represents a significant step forward in Dane County's fight against COVID-19. For the first time in more than a year, Dane County is not under any public health orders. PHMDC issued the first numerically named emergency order a bit more than 1 year ago on May 13th of 2020, with our own Safer at Home order after the state order was struck down. Today, we are in a completely different environment, with 76% of the eligible population now having at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine, which is why yesterday, emergency order number 16 expired, ending the county's mask mandate and gathering and capacity limits. This milestone was achieved through a lot of hard work and sacrifices made by frontline healthcare and public health workers, our friends, families, co-workers, business owners, and neighbors. I know this past year has not been easy, but by coming together as a community, by staying distant and getting vaccinated, all of the difficult decisions made over this past year and a half almost, are now paying off with significantly decreasing rates of illness and increasing rates of vaccine, giving us the ability to have a summer more like 2019 than 2020. Our 7-day average of cases is now 14.4 cases per day. At the last briefing, it was 23.6. Just 1% of all COVID tests are coming back positive right now. And though testing has slowed down, as we would anticipate it might, with increased vaccine coverage and low disease activity, it is also important to point out that our incredibly low positivity rate is not due to any lack of testing. We are still averaging around 1,500 tests per day, every day in Dane County, which means we are able to detect illness that pops up. We're also seeing decreasing trends in hospitalizations right now, averaging about 24 people hospitalized with COVID compared to the last briefing when it was 29. And for the first time since we began tracking case clusters, there were no cases linked to child care facilities during this 14-day period. While we have made significant progress in vaccine coverage in the last 6 months, our efforts are not diminishing. We are continuing to ramp up our mobile vaccination efforts, making the vaccine as easily accessible as possible. Through June and July, we have 9 to 12 mobile clinics scheduled each week. We're making the decisions on where to hold these clinics by looking at geographic vaccination data, targeting the areas where we're seeing lower vaccination rates. This past Tuesday, we held a pop-up clinic at the Wanakee Library that saw great success, with 61 people getting the shot in just 3 hours. If you or someone you know may have missed that clinic, we will be back in Waunakee again tomorrow at Heritage Elementary School from 3 to 6 p.m. The clinic is free and no identification is required. Everyone 12 years old and older are welcome to drop by, though if you're under 18, you do need a parent or guardian to be present. Our schedule of mobile clinics is filling up fast for the month of June, so be sure to follow Public Health on Facebook and Twitter for updates. As for overall vaccination numbers, 643,006 doses of vaccine have been administered to Dane County residents in the last 6 months. In all, 66.6% of our county population now has at least one dose. And in just 3 weeks, 3 weeks today was the first, 3 weeks ago today was the first day that we could vaccinate 12 to 15-year-olds. Since then, we have achieved impressive coverage of almost 50%, 49.1% to be exact, having at least one dose of protection. Over 50% of our Latinx population now has at least one dose, but we understand that the BIPOC community continues seeing overall lower rates of vaccination. While we know that Dane County has one of the highest overall vaccination rates in the country, we are well aware of the racial and ethnic disparities that persist in rates, and we are working to address those disparities through community conversations to address hesitancy by working with community organizations that are already trusted within communities, and by holding clinics at a variety of times and places in an effort to meet people where they are at. We are collaborating with the African American Health Network on a series of first and second dose vaccine clinics. And as of today, we have taken part in more than 40 interactions in the form of town halls, panels, presentations, and other smaller group conversations. The goal of these efforts is to both acknowledge and address some of the mistrust and distrust of communities based on medical racism and historical trauma. And we engage in meaningful conversations to provide reliable information around vaccines so people can make an informed choice on vaccine. As we move forward into this new chapter of the pandemic, it is important to remember the goal of the public health orders: to protect our healthcare systems from becoming overwhelmed with patients, to assure the public health system has the capacity to support testing, case investigation and contact tracing, isolation and quarantine of those who are ill or exposed, and of course to save lives and prevent as much severe illness as possible. The goal of these orders was never to achieve 0 cases of COVID. While vaccines have gotten us to the point that we are at right now in this pandemic of being able to take off our masks and feel comfortable spending time with our loved ones, we know we cannot stop now. The pandemic is not over, but we are better equipped than ever to fight it. Vaccination is the best way to protect yourself and the people you love from COVID-19. The vaccines are free, safe, and effective, and I encourage everyone who has not yet gotten the vaccine to do so. The Alliant Energy Center remains open with vaccination and testing services through June 26th. You can either make an appointment at publichealthmdc.com/APPT or just drop in for vaccine or testing. After June 26th, testing and vaccination efforts will shift into some of our other existing spaces, like our South Madison and East Washington public health offices. We will be sharing more details about what comes next in the coming days and weeks. Thank you. Stay well.
Thank you, Janelle, and I want to thank Janelle and everybody in public health for the incredible job they've done over the past year and a half for us, for our community. I want to also thank all of you and everyone in our community for everything you've done to comply with the public health orders up to date, to wear the masks, to wash the hands, to keep your distance, and in particular, a huge thanks to our community for getting vaccinated. We have really remarkable rates of vaccination here in Madison and Dane County, some of the highest in the country. And I'm incredibly grateful that everybody is making that choice to get the COVID-19 vaccine, because it allows us to be in this place where we see less disease in our community, and we're able to start opening things up again in a safe way. So I just really am grateful to our community that we believe in science, that we follow the data, and that we're getting vaccinated. Appropriately, it is Women's Health Care Month, so I encourage all of us who identify as female to take care of ourselves and our health, certainly against COVID, but also against the myriad of other health challenges that women face. It's also National Safety Month, just FYI, and tomorrow is Gun Violence Awareness Day. I encourage you to join me tomorrow and over the weekend in wearing orange to raise awareness about gun violence, and today, over the weekend, and every day to take any action you can to combat the epidemic of gun violence in our community and in our country. I want to turn now to our parks system. The parks have been an incredible resource for our health and our mental health over the past year plus. We're really lucky to have a fantastic park system, and I'm going to bring up Eric Knepp, our park superintendent, to talk about what's on tap for this summer and all of the great ways that you can enjoy our parks.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Eric Knepp, the Park Superintendent for the City of Madison, and as the public health orders have ended, our park system will continue to evolve in its usage, and we're here today to talk about and celebrate the way our community used the parks to stay healthy physically, emotionally, socially across the year, but also to embrace the opportunity to gather, to do things we haven't done in the parks over the last year again. We expect and are seeing a significant increase in event applications, shelter reservations, gatherings, and that's exciting. We know it's been missed by our community, and we are prepared with additional and enhanced long-term planned cleaning and disinfecting of our facilities. We've done a lot of changes that we're going to keep for the future. All of our public-facing facilities are open. We have the Obert Gardens is fully open. The conservatory, the outdoor gardens, events, weddings, receptions are occurring. Warner Park Community Recreation Center has been open for months. It was one of the first gyms to open for specifically reaching out and providing a service to our youth. It is open. It will be open across the summer. This weekend marks our first park-sponsored event since the pandemic began, which is the Ride the Drive event. This year will be at 4 locations across the city. Marlboro Park, focus on Marlboro Park, Wingra Park, Kennedy, and Warner Parks. The Goodman Pool will open fully. It was open last year, but this year will open close to full capacity, not at full capacity. We are in a dialed approach to bringing back capacity limits, but it will open on June 11th, and the Goodman Waves will be back in competition this year at the pool, and that's very exciting. Beaches are open if you want to get in the water and check the website for testing today, but lifeguards, you'll start seeing them on Saturday, June 12th. Across our guarded beaches. Our splash parks open at Rindell, Cypress, and Elver will open tomorrow on the 4th of June and will be open for the summer just in time for what looks like a really warm weekend. And then across the system, many of you have known and grown to appreciate and found new parks, but I want everyone to understand and know how great of a system we have and how many opportunities are out there for you to continue to explore, grow, gather. The first thing that's really notable for a city of our density is 95% of Madisonians live within a 10-minute walk of a park. In those parks, we're going to find basketball hoops at a rate of 10.2 per 10,000 residents. It's the 96th percentile in the country. Playgrounds, 7.1 playgrounds per 10,000 people. That's a 100th percentile. I know of no one higher. And our off-leash dog areas, we have 9 of them now, and that puts us at a rate of 4.2 per 100,000 residents in the 96th percentile as well. These statistics are often the Trust for Public Lands ranking and evaluation of urban park districts. And we look at those, and this year, a part of that analysis was an additional focus on equity, and we're really excited to look into that data and use it to inform our ongoing planning. I think it looks good in certain areas and problematic in others that we were aware of, but we're very excited to be able to work towards addressing longstanding inequities in our system. And finally, just other opportunities. Golf courses, 3 of the 4 are open. Glenway's under restoration. Over 40,000 of you have already played around this year, which is a phenomenal number. The disc golf courses are open. Our beach, our boating, access canoe kayak launches, including rentals with partners, are all open this year. You can get out and enjoy the lakes and connect with each other. There's many great spots for shore fishing that I know many of our residents and visitors enjoy. And field sports, this is a big one, are back in pretty well full swing, especially on the youth focus. But we see a lot more cricket, ultimate frisbee, soccer, softball, baseball happening this spring into the summer. And Breeze Stevens hosted its first soccer game in quite some time this last month, and the Madison Mallards are also back at the Duck Pond at Warner. With that, events and gatherings and changes in use. We spent a year getting used to the parks as we used them during the pandemic, which is different than before. And I want to encourage everyone in the public to have grace for each other and a little patience with each other as we learn to gather. We've noted that gatherings are certainly up, and we've all changed a little bit. We don't expect to see 100 people listening to music and dancing at a park. And so everybody's celebrating on their own timetable. Everybody's a little bit in their own place. And as a public park system, it's important that we all share that resource and embrace each other's right to it. And then the last thing I wanted to say today is as we move forward this summer, you'll see a lot more events happening in parks. Those events, we are working closely with organizers to still have safety plans and COVID pandemic response plans in place. Obviously, there are not orders in place, but the vast majority, all of our event organizers are participating in the conversation about whether or not masks are required, whether sanitation plans are in place and capacity limits. And that's great to share with the public that our event organizers are very responsible and very interested in safe gathering this summer in Madison Parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Lots of opportunities to get out and enjoy our fantastic parks this summer, really all year round, but the weather's going to be so wonderful this weekend and going out. I just really encourage people to get outdoors and enjoy it, enjoy the park system. And as Eric said, be kind, have some grace for each other as we're all getting used to interacting again out in public. Let's just try and respect each other's choices and share our park space and our whole city. I have a bunch of quick updates, stuff that's going on in the city. First of all, I want to recognize that it's Pride Month. Happy Pride, everybody. I'm really delighted that the Pride flag is flying not only over this building, the Madison Municipal Building, but also over the Wisconsin State Capitol. And I thank Governor Evers for yet again putting the Pride flag up in June. These briefings, we are changing our schedule. We are going to go every other week on these briefings. but we will stay at Thursdays at 11 a.m. So the next briefing will be Thursday, June 17th at 11 a.m. Please continue to join us as we share more information about what's going on in the city. We'll also be starting to highlight some of the services that are returning to in-person service here in the city. I want to say a thank you to all of the folks on Team City that have been working in person to serve the public throughout this entire pandemic. There is about 60% of our workforce that has not had the opportunity to telework, and I'm really grateful to them for keeping everything going. And we are slowly bringing back other in-person services. You heard Eric talk about parks being back. Our libraries are back for a walk-in service at all 9 libraries. And in the first 4 days of being back to that, we had over 12,000 visitors come to our libraries, which I think speaks to how much we missed them. So we're delighted that we can be back. Library hours everywhere except the Monroe Street Library are 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on weekdays and noon to 5 on Saturdays. Monroe Street is open 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. We are phasing in study room use, Wi-Fi use, and seating starting this week. The Dream Bus is out and visiting 12 locations each week, and the We Read Summer Reading Program for youth begins on June 12th, and you can find out much more at the library website. Metro Transit is also restoring more service in the sense of we're restoring our normal capacities on the buses, no longer limiting capacity. And I want to remind folks that even though the local mask order ended yesterday, it is still federal law that everyone must wear a face mask at transfer points, shelters, and throughout the entire process of boarding, riding, and leaving the bus. Please, when you're using our fantastic Metro Transit system, wear your mask and respect drivers when they're asking you to mask up. Also, update on service in parking enforcement. As of June 1st, all of our on-street parking restrictions are back to being fully in effect and enforced. That means the on-street meter fees required from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, except for holidays. And the time limit restrictions at meters, whether that's a 25-minute meter or an hour meter or a 2-hour meter, are also going to be enforced. And then our Clean Streets, Clean Lakes program restrictions are also in force, including, and then of course all other posted restrictions. Please check the signs if you're not familiar with the parking restrictions in a particular area. If you want to stay up to date on our COVID-19 response, data, reopening plans, et cetera, we do post all of this on social media. We also have text updates, and you can sign up at cityofmadison.com/health-safety coronavirus/updates. Or just follow us on social media. Twitter is at City of Madison, Facebook, City of Madison, Instagram, City of Madison WI, and we have a YouTube channel, City of Madison. So just lots of ways you can stay up to date on what's going on in the city, in particular, as we start to restore more in-person service. Just a few notes on things going on at different levels of government. I want to say a huge thank you to President Biden and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg for including our bus rapid transit system in President Biden's budget. I'm very excited that we're going to be able to move our bus rapid transit system forward as scheduled. And this is just great news for our city that we're going to be able to, as we come out of the pandemic and folks start coming back to in-person work, we're going to be able to provide even better transit in the near future. So it's a 50% match, so 50% local money, 50% federal money for our east-west BRT line. And the next steps are for us to complete design and environmental work on the system. We expect the federal funds to be coming in the summer of 22, and that construction will start by the end of 2022. Very much looking forward to that, and thanks again to President Biden. At the state level, I'm very sorry to say that Wisconsin is following the trend of introducing anti-trans kids legislation. There's been at least 117 bills across the country, and again, unfortunately, some of them here in Wisconsin. A bill has been introduced that would prohibit the participation of trans youth in organized athletics, which is just cruel, and particularly cruel because LGBTQ youth already face discrimination and harassment and poorer school outcomes, and probably are among the youth that need athletics the most. We should be offering these kids more support, not making it harder for them to participate. I am happy to say that the Common Council joined me in condemning these bills by passing a resolution at our last council meeting, and that resolution also affirms the dignity of our trans residents and especially trans youth. And I want trans youth to know here in Madison and all across the country that they can hold their heads up high because they have the support from the president to Governor Evers to myself and the entire Madison Common Council. We have your back, kids. Also want to thank the council for passing some important zoning changes that will help, I hope, increase the supply of housing in our community. It's a positive step forward. It's one of many steps that we need to take, but it will make it more straightforward for smaller developers and smaller developments to move forward. It is a piece of a larger strategy, including my Housing Forward strategy, which I am very committed to working on, both increasing the supply of housing overall in our community and in particular the supply of affordable housing. I look forward to continuing to collaborate with the council on housing solutions. I also want to thank the school district for partnering with us to provide free summer bus passes to all of our middle and high school students in Madison. This is a brand new program. And the passes are going to be distributed to all middle and high school students, 6th grade and up, starting June 2nd and going through June 16th, and then they'll be available again for pickup from summer school semester sites on June 21st. Each individual school will communicate with students, so each MMSD school will communicate with students about how to pick up a pass. Students that live in Madison but don't go to MMSD are also eligible for these passes and can pick them up at Metro Transit on East Wash. And passes are available for purchase if students don't live in Madison. And of course, everybody can purchase a pass, a monthly pass or a weekly pass if you want at mymetrobus.com/buy online. The student passes will be valid for the summer from June 9th through September 7th. If you have questions, you can visit mymetrobus.com/free summer pass. And again, I want to thank the school district for partnering with us. I think it's a really exciting and important program so that kids can get out to some of our parks perhaps, but also to education and employment opportunities during the course of the summer. You may have heard that the City of Madison and the City of Fitchburg are attaching or annexing the Town of Madison. That will happen October 31st of 2022, but we are already starting the process to welcome the town and to help town residents understand what this annexation means to them. So there are a bunch of resources out there if you live in the town or if you're just curious about the attachment process. The website is cityofmadison.com/Town of Madison. There's a hotline, which is 608-267-1188. You can leave a voicemail message with your question, your callback number, and the preferred language that you would like to get an answer in. The hotline information is available in English, Spanish, Tibetan, and Mandarin. You can also sign up to get text or email alerts, again, at cityofmadison.com/townofmadison. And you can email Town of Madison attachment at cityofmadison.com with your questions, comments, suggestions, thoughts as we move through this attachment process. And speaking of the Town of Madison and this communication process, we will be doing door-to-door outreach efforts this summer to educate Town of Madison residents about the upcoming attachment and what that process is and what the impacts might be. So we are now accepting applications for folks who want to become a community navigator and help with this process of outreach. We are particularly looking for help in reaching non-English speaking communities, so bilingual folks are really encouraged to apply. Again, we're looking for folks who can speak Spanish, Mandarin, or Tibetan. Any nonprofit, community-based organization or other grassroots group with experience conducting outreach or individual city or Town of Madison residents can apply to be a navigator. We're looking for folks that have experience working with the public, strong connections to the Town of Madison community, and good communication skills. This is paid work. It will require some evening and weekend work. And there's a whole list of outreach efforts that we would ask people to help with. If you're interested in this, please contact Kirsty Lotch in our planning department, and that number is 608-243-0470 or KLAATSCH@cityofmadison.com. We very much appreciate folks helping us out with this outreach process, and again, trying to really reach everybody in the town. Just a quick note that Mineral Point Road will be closed for construction starting at 7 a.m. on June 7th, and that will be between South Point Road and South Pleasant View Road, the roundabout. They're installing a culvert. And the road is expected to open at 7 p.m. So 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on June 7th should be easy to remember. There will, of course, be a posted detour. As Eric said, it's beach season, and so in addition to our lifeguards getting back out on the guarded beaches, we want to just alert you that Public Health is monitoring conditions and water quality at our beaches, splash pads, and pools. They collect samples at our beaches every week. Those are analyzed, and then the status of each beach is posted on the website. You can get email alerts, and of course, it's on social media as well. Part of the concern that we have in testing our water quality is for blue-green algae blooms, which can be toxic to people and animals. So if you go to a beach, your pet swims in the water and you expect they were exposed to blue-green algae, or if they show symptoms like vomiting, diarrhea, seizures, disorientation, trouble breathing, please take your pet to a veterinarian as soon as possible and report that to Public Health. And just use common sense. You want to check the status of the beach before heading out. Again, you can check on social media at Public Health or online. But also take a look at the water before you jump in. If you suspect that there's a bloom at a beach, avoid the water and contact Public Health at 608-266-4821, and someone will come out to check the water quality. Other announcements, just we have talked about this previously, but the new large item work order system for large item trash pickup is now available and live. And you do need to use that work order system to schedule your large item collections at the curb or to purchase recycling fee stickers for items that you bring to drop-off sites. And so you can go to cityofmadison.com/streets, click the green button that reads Create Large Item Work Order to bring the work order. Or you can go directly to cityofmadison.com/large item. Eager to see how this works, and of course we'll be collecting data on it and improving the program as we go. Finally, in the good news category, we have a fantastic new art installation coming to our central library. It's called Flower Flash. I'm just really delighted that flower artist Molly Stentz is going to be installing this. Again, it's at the Central Library. Starting Friday morning, tomorrow morning, June 4th, down on West Mifflin Street. Molly is a floral artist and a flower grower, and she's doing this site-specific Madison Flower Flash 2021 installations. She's grown a selection of seasonal ephemeral flowers, and the project coincides, obviously, with the library being recently opened. Fresh, vibrant florals will be intertwined with the iconic Madison Public Library letters to welcome visitors back to the library. This installation is a gift to the Madison community and the public library as we emerge from the pandemic and plant new seeds for what will come next. Speaking of new seeds, the public library is part of the Dane County Seed Library, and you can get free seed packets for a variety of flowers, herbs, and produce from the Lakeview or Goodman South Madison libraries to plant your own gardens. But I encourage you to come down to Central Library tomorrow to check out the installation. It will not last very long, so maybe 24 to 72 hours, probably maybe a little less given the heat that we're going to see over the weekend. So do try and get down to see Flower Flash. Finally, as I always do, I'll run through some community resources and upcoming meetings. I want to start by reminding folks, if you have not yet gotten vaccinated, please do. publichealthmdc.com/vax has all the information you need. Lots of options in our community to get vaccinated, certainly Alliant through most of June, but also many pop-up sites that are offering vaccinations, including pharmacies and, of course, your healthcare provider. If you have need for emergency food resources or other social services, you can call 211. That's the United Way of Dane County's line, and they can hook you up with referrals to all sorts of things to help you and your family. I also want to note that Project Recovery is providing free, confidential, local support and education to help folks impacted by COVID-19. You can visit projectrecoverywi.org or call 608-237-1255, and that's offered by CAC, the Community Action Coalition of South Central Wisconsin. I want to thank them for that service. We also here at the city have financial navigators to help folks that have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Visit cityofmadison.com/financial hotline or call 608-315-5151. Our housing helpline at the city is 608-264-0549 or email housinginfo@cityofmadison.com. If you need help finding childcare, call 608-216-7022. If you don't have health insurance, you can still get it through the marketplace at healthcare.gov. And you can get help navigating that by calling 211 or visiting wiscovered.com. If you need help with premiums through healthcare.gov, our Health Connect program is available through the generosity of our healthcare systems here. You can call 211 or visit unitedwaydanecounty.org/healthconnect for information on eligibility and assistance in signing up. And if you need a computer or internet access to do any of these things, visit your local library. You can sign up for library computer use and access Wi-Fi at the library. All these resources and more posted at cityofmadison.com. Click on the community resources link on the front page. You can also visit and subscribe to my blog, cityofmadison.com/mayor/blog, where we cover most of these topics. Upcoming meetings, it's a little longer because we're going 2 weeks. June 3rd, today, 5 p.m., the Public Library Board meets. 5:30, the Affirmative Action Commission meets. Also 5:30, the Community Development Block Grant Committee meets. Monday the 7th at 5:30, the Plan Commission will meet. Also, the City County Homeless Issues Committee and also our Sister City Collaboration Committee. Tuesday, June 8th at 5:30, the Madison Arts Commission will meet. Wednesday, June 9th at 9 a.m., the Task Force on Digital Inclusion Strategic Priorities. At 4:30 on Wednesday, the Urban Design Commission. At 5, the Transportation Commission. And at 5:30, the Education Committee. On Tuesday, June 10th at 4:30, the Community Development Authority will meet. On Monday, June 14th at 5, the Transportation Policy and Planning Board will meet. And at 5:30, the Police and Fire Commission. On June 15th at 4:30, the Common Council Executive Committee will meet, and at 6:30, the Common Council will meet. And then Wednesday, June 16th at 4:30, the Board of Public Works, at 5, the Economic Development Committee, and at 5:30, the Alcohol License Review Committee. And that is what we have for the next 2 weeks, folks. Let's see if we have any questions.
We do have questions today, Mayor. We have 2 for you and 1 for Park Superintendent Knapp.
All right, let's start with Eric then.
We've seen information on goats in parks. Can you talk about that?
Certainly. I should have mentioned that the goats are one of the biggest positive things we saw last year during the pandemic. They were a huge success. So the goats in parks is an innovative part of our IPM management strategy for land management for our public lands. And what the goats are doing is they're actually eating everything. You might have heard that goats do that. They do eat mostly everything, which is good, especially if you have a lot of honeysuckle, garlic mustard, and the like. So we work with a local goat owner who brings the goats into the park. They are penned in. They stay in a location for a little while. They kind of eat away all the undesirable invasive species. And then we move them along to another park, and then they'll do that twice in each park they're visiting. This year, they'll be at 5 parks in total. Greenside, which is a really small park property on the far west side, given the unique topography, that's actually where the genesis of this program came from. We couldn't really access it to get rid of the invasives without goats, because they're also all-terrain goats, which is great. But the 4 bigger ones were the public, and the public can see them. We ask you not engage with them as far as feeding or anything like that, but you can certainly drop by and take a look. They're really fun to watch. They'll be at a rotation between Owen Park, Turville Park, Knollwood Park, and Acewood Park. Those are all conservation parks in our system. They're going to help us manage about 42 acres this year, which is really exciting. And I think it's a big innovation for our park staff team, working with experts in the field of how do we manage our land better and with more intention in an integrated pest management. That's IPM methodology. So you'll know when they're there. They'll be there for about 2 weeks at a time, and they'll be back for about 2 weeks later in the summer. So they'll take a 2-week vacation at each of those 4 parks or 5 parks across the summer in about a 10, 12-week window. They'll be very well fed and very happy goats. And it's really, I'm really proud of staff, and I'm really thankful for the goats. They're awesome. Thank you.
I love the goats. The goats are awesome. It is true. We went to visit them, and I encourage folks, to check out the conservation parks where the goats will be this summer. As Eric said, look but don't touch, but they are awfully fun to watch. All right, you had questions for me also?
Yes. Given the lifting of Public Health Madison Dane County orders this week, what is your guidance going forward for in-person city boards, commission, and committee meetings?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we're moving through a deliberative process in terms of restoring in-person service at the city. As I mentioned at the top, we are still asking folks to mask in our buildings for a little while, and are working on opening up different City of Madison buildings over the next, I would say, month and a half. So obviously our libraries are already open. We're working through opening the municipal building, our fire stations, police stations, other public buildings in a sort of deliberative way. And we'll be making announcements from this podium and obviously on social media and through press release about the schedule on that. We can't have in-person committee meetings until the buildings are open to the public, but once they are, we will be starting to consider how we move back to in-person or to a hybrid model. These conversations are actively ongoing with council leadership and the city council, So we don't have anything to announce yet, but this is something that we're actively working on and look for more soon.
And one more question. How do you think the land banking policy that was just adopted will help address the city's housing challenges? How would you say it works with other strategies in the city that the city is undertaking related to a shortage of affordable housing and housing overall?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think land banking is one powerful tool that the city is already and will continue to use to support not just the creation of affordable housing, but also wealth generation and economic development. I think historically the city has leaned a little bit more into the economic development side of land banking, and I am excited to lean more into the affordable housing side of it, particularly under this new policy. Staff have already been watching and actively considering properties for land banking. In terms of our affordable housing strategy, we were particularly leaning into transit corridors and areas that it will be easy for folks to access transit, where we are concerned about whether or not we'll be able to maintain affordable housing. So one of the ways that the city can help with that is by land banking properties and then making them available for affordable housing development. Another advantage, of course, of land banking is that the way that we do this is we would acquire a property and then do an RFP for the use of that property, which means that we can dictate the terms of that use, and that can give us a longer term of affordability in some cases, and it also allows us to work with a whole range of different partners. So I think that land banking is absolutely a key part of our strategy for affordable housing and again for wealth generation and economic development as well.
Those are all the questions for today.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in to the briefing. We're no longer calling them weekly because we'll be jumping to bi-weekly now, but appreciate the questions. And we will see you all in 2 weeks. Have a great weekend. Get outside and enjoy the parks.